Welcome back. A review of the Office of Personnel Management and its potential merger into the General Services Administration is complete. The National Academy of Public Administration finds transferring some OPM duties to the Office of Management and Budget and merging others into the General Services Administration wouldn't fix the problems OPM has. Robert Shea is National Managing Principal for Public Policy at Grant Thornton. He's former Associate Director at OMB, and he is a NAPA Fellow as well. Robert, thanks for coming on the program. Your takeaways from this is something you and I have been talking about the anticipation of for a long time. What did you see in the final product?
Well, you and I observed the attempt to merge GSA and OPM, and the report concludes that in itself would not have solved OPM's shortcomings. That's sort of like saying a good diet and exercise won't prevent death. By itself, that's very true. Nonetheless, the attempt to merge those agencies was an effort to get OPM, or the government's human capital function, focused on improving the recruitment and retention and engagement of federal employees. So the major benefit of this report is that it calls out and seeks to improve the culture of OPM, changing it from one of compliance to one that's focused on really improving the human capital management of agencies across the executive branch enterprise.
Yes, and that's the impression that I got from reading this, is that they interviewed lots of human capital officers and lots of former chief human capital officers across government, because this is what these people have been telling me on this program and others for years. We need OPM to be a strategic operation to support us and not a tactical operation to watch over us. Is that what you're sensing? Are you hearing the same thing, reading the same thing out of this work?
Absolutely. You're right that the chief human capital officers really are just one entry point into OPM. If you talk to managers who really need full-time employees on the ground doing the mission of the agency, they're the ones who complain the loudest. And to get OPM to be a partner with not only their chief human capital officers, but the managers who need to hire and hold people accountable for performance, that could really transform the human capital function of the federal government.
One of the discussions that's happened over time, and in fact for a while in the Obama administration actually happened, was making the OPM director an official member of the president's cabinet. John Barry attended President Obama's cabinet meetings for a period of time, and then the OPM breach happened after he left office, and the role of the OPM director seemed to change as a result of that. Does that make sense in your view? Is that important functionally, or is that more a symbolic change if that were to happen again?
I think it's more symbolic. I mean, it's an important message. If you ask agencies what their top challenges are, what's preventing them from meeting their goals, it's people. So the ability to recruit and retain people is the number one thing that is either helping them or preventing them from achieving their goals. So it should be a major priority. Whether or not going to a couple of cabinet meetings makes it a sufficient priority is a big question. It's certainly a symbol that it's important to the president and the executive branch.
No, please continue.
But the real question is whether senior leadership who are responsible for executing management improvement efforts think this is as important a priority as it should be.
I teased you a bit before we went on the air because I didn't see anything here about measuring results in what the NAPA team proposes for the Office of Personnel Management. And I teased you that we should get somebody from the Commission on Evidence-Based Policymaking on the program to talk about it. You were a commissioner on that panel. What would be the right measures to put in place to see whether these changes that NAPA proposes actually work?
It's so nice of you to mention that, Francis. You're right that there's not enough focus on the extent to which OPM has or has not helped agencies improve time to hire, improved retention, improved employee engagement. There is a discussion of some statutory authority that OPM has to study and share proven practices in human capital management. And if OPM took that role seriously, actually invested some time and resources in figuring out what works in these major human capital management challenges. That really could move the needle.
Improving time to hire is great unless you hire somebody who's not well equipped to do the job. Are there
That's
good
what my
measures?
boss says. That's what my boss says all the time.
Yeah, I get the same thing. Is there data available, given the way that evaluation systems work across government? Is there data that's reliable to help one understand if one has hired a good employee quickly?
Not reliable, not universally reliable. And, the report concludes, and I think they're right, that focusing on the collection and use of data in assessing and improving the government's workforce could be really important. Time to hire, that's an area where we've looked really closely at. But as far as consistent rating of employee performance, I'm not sure it's a basis on which you conclude that the hiring process actually produced the people you needed to do the job. So some focus on data quality, use of that data in managing the workforce would be really important.
Robert Shea, thanks very much as always.
Thanks for having me, Francis.